Okay, shorter one on this one. This is just about the coming elections. I think it's clear, and a lot of people understand right now, that our system is corrupt. Democracy is not functioning as it's supposed to. Now, we're left with a very small number of options here, but let's just consider them really quickly. One is a violent revolution, which I personally do not want, because I don't know, and I think most of you don't want, because you don't want to pick up a gun and fight and kill or be killed and get into a civil war or whatever the hell that'll end up leading to. Could lead to a bad situation. So to me, the only other option is why aren't we just voting for third-party candidates? Look at where the money goes. The money goes to Democrats and Republicans. You have a lot of people have their opinions about both. I personally think that the Democrats are the lesser of two evils, but I also believe that Democrats are an evil, just like the Republicans are. They are subject to the influence of big business, as Barack Obama has proved so far, in the fact that he has not done anything significant to help go after the people who have who sort of were the ones who were the perpetrators of the crime of destroying the American economy. With all of this, it's very clear, it's obvious, there's straight evidence. They made securities, they paid ratings agencies to take their mortgage, sliced and diced mortgage securities, give them A ratings, and then they actually bet against the people. They bet against their own holdings through options, I guess, or futures, probably options, to make a profit. And there's evidence of this. By now, people should have been prosecuted. By now, people should have been prosecuted for knowing that they were working on a short-term gain, making loans that they weren't supposed to be made. These people do not deserve bonuses. They deserve to be kicked out of Wall Street. Everyday people are suffering. People who weren't irresponsible, who just have been saving money to their 401ks or to their IRAs. People who rely on the stock market to maintain. The stock market has come back recently, but that's only one side of it. Obviously the whole. Now obviously there's been zero interest loans made, loans that have actually helped businesses profit from our government. Government bails out the biggest banks, but doesn't do anything for the common man, who for the most part is having a harder and harder time making it, and isn't receiving a lot of help from the government. They just passed the settlement to give them, throw them a bone for those people who have been foreclosed upon, who don't really deserve to be foreclosed upon. But it's not enough, and it's not going to be enough until we see, leadership that doesn't work for a bank. That when Obama's presidential advisor wasn't formally employed by one of the largest U.S. banks, as the last couple or few, or every single one almost has been, then we'll know we're making progress. But these guys are coming right out of the banking sector, and they're the ones telling Obama what to do, or advising him on what to do. And this is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. That's not acceptable. It's not acceptable that we're giving oil subsidies to the oil companies at a time when they're making record profits, especially when, believe it or not, even conservative think tanks like the American Heritage Group think that there are some unfair giveaways to oil companies. Get that. Meanwhile, they've totally not taken into account the all the externalities of business as usual in the oil companies, things that are making everyday people sick, or giving them allergies or asthma, or generally lowering the quality of life through poor air quality and environmental degradation. So and then you've got agribusiness. Not much has been done to reduce the handouts to agribusiness. The corn subsidies. If I give Obama credit, the only reason why I see Obama as the lesser of two evils is for two reasons. One, he's increased the miles per gallon standard of the U.S. auto fleet. This is important. We need to get as many miles per gallon as possible because most of our fuel use comes in the form of automobile transportation. So that is big. I give him credit for that. I give him credit for reducing our nuclear arsenal. It certainly hasn't been by enough to make me feel safe. I'd like to see our nuclear arsenal reduced a hell of a lot more. In fact, I'd like to see the world's nuclear arsenals reduced to the point where we cannot send off enough nuclear weapons to just wipe out humanity. Which right now, unfortunately, that's what the situation is. We've got enough nukes right now to wipe off humanity off the face of the earth several times over, and I don't believe we should be living in an environment where this is a possibility. And according to what I've read, based on a scientific study that I read, it would only take 80 nukes to set off simultaneously to basically destroy our atmosphere. I forget exactly what it does. It has something to do, maybe if it's a bigger hole in the ozone layer or something, but basically it would destroy the atmosphere for a period of 3 to 4, maybe 5 years even, and make crops impossible to grow, which would lead to massive starvation and most likely the extinction of the human race. We cannot be living in an environment where it's possible that with a major nuclear exchange that humanity could be wiped off the face of the planet. This is not acceptable to me. It shouldn't be acceptable to anyone. And the fact that Obama's made a step in the right direction is encouraging, but one has to wonder whether it's just a sort of for show or if it really is supposed to mean something, especially since he hasn't been able to make significant cuts to the military budget, and at a time when countries around the world should be pulling together to prepare for transitions to different energy sources. We are instead preparing our military to fight for these sources in what could turn out to be escalating conflicts that could very well lead to a nuclear war of some sort if things get out of hand, as can be seen with what's going on with Iran and Russia, Iran and Israel and Pakistan, and who knows where the Russians and the Chinese or the North Koreans or any number of other nuclear countries would take sides in that situation. So yeah, I give Obama credit on some things, but it's not good enough. And the bottom line is, it won't be good enough until we start seeing another party get elected, because it's obvious to me that the Democratic and Republican candidates are largely under corporate control, and we can't afford to let this continue, because there's a lot of what we need right now is not moderate change. A lot of you believe in moderates, and it's because you're uninformed and you're not really aware of the issues. You don't really understand the dilemmas that are presenting themselves. You're sort of stuck in your own little world. All you care about is your own sphere and what goes on locally. And I understand that, because world issues don't really affect your life directly that often. But we're approaching a time in history where world issues could significantly affect your life, and this is not a time for you to be complacent and to be ignorant of how our nation's presidential candidates' policy proposals will affect the current kind of teetering, somewhat dangerous world situation in terms of economy, in terms of energy production, and in terms of future warfare. This is important. Where humanity is at a crossroads right now. We're headed in dangerous directions in a lot of ways, and a lot of people are just too stupid and unaware to pay attention to these things. And a lot of people do know, and for those people that do know, it's our jobs to try to inform the people that don't know. And it's a shame that people, aren't going to watch this video. A lot of people aren't going to watch this video because they don't want to hear talk about politics. They don't want to hear talk about, serious issues. They don't want to discuss it with their friends. They act like politics is a forbidden topic, and that talking about it makes no difference. Well, maybe talking about it does make no difference in our democracy, which is totally corrupt and controlled by money. But it's important that we start, conferencing with each other to find ways to turn things around. And here's my first suggestion. I've made this a Facebook page called Get the Money Out of Politics. I have one person joined it. Maybe 3 people altogether that are part of it. But my idea is we have to start making third-party candidates viable, because corporate money is obviously has very strict control over the Republican and Democratic candidates. So, what my proposal is that in the next election, you vote for the third-party candidate who, number one, has not received a significant amount of corporate campaign contributions, and number two, who states clearly policy decisions that you personally agree with. I think if we can at least start getting another party, even if it was just a matter of stealing votes from Republicans and Democrats. Republicans, if you feel strongly about libertarianism, vote for your your third party libertarian candidate. Not a Republican, not a Democrat. Vote for the Freedom Party, or whatever the hell the Libertarian Party is called. That would be an improvement, because it would send a message that Republicans and Democrats can't sit back and expect to get all the votes from both sides. We need to make a stand. On the other side of it, for liberals, vote for your Green Party candidate, vote for your Peace and Freedom Party candidate, your Justice Party, or all the other things they're coming up with. I wish I knew more of the conservative third-party candidates, because I'm sure they're more viable also. A lot of these libertarian candidates are significantly against the war, and a lot of people, I think, are against the war. A lot of these third-party candidates are for cutting defense spending, and at this point, if you were real conservatives, then you would also be for cutting defense spending, because you want to make cuts. Well, what's overblown? What's overblown? Well, we're spending a lot of money on Medicare, we're spending a lot of money on Social Security, and we're spending a lot of money on the military. Those are the 3 big things you have to cut. So, personally, I'm okay with the idea of cutting Social Security and Medicare if you also cut defense spending. We're in a rough time to be cutting things, I think. I tend to disagree with most libertarians. I don't think we should cut the government to nothing at this point, and I'd like to see government take a larger role in helping to educate the populace, because obviously, even you see what the people that are being elected now, and you have to wonder if people have half a brain at this point, because, people like, I'm sorry, but every Republican candidate shouldn't be really competing, and, Obama just lied to lied to many people. Also, he gave us a vision of hope and change, and he gave us more of the same, for the most part. So, we have to take a bold stand as involved citizens in the democratic process and say, no, just because you're on television and you've been paid millions of dollars by corporations to put ads on television attacking their opponents, or really just putting out a false image. I mean, a lot of this is just propaganda. Nobody's talking about their actual policy decisions. Everything is being run on character. We do not need a president that's elected on character. We need, at this point, at this crucial time in human history, we need a president who's elected based on his policy decisions, and the policy decisions that hopefully, that you believe will save us from the mess we've gotten into. And we're not getting that from. We get a little bit of that from Obama. At least he showed he has a budget, and that budget's never going to be passed because there's so many Republicans and conservative Democrats in Congress. And who knows how serious he's being with it. Maybe he doesn't want that. Maybe he's just putting this plan out so that he can look like he wants these things for the sake of populism. But the bottom line is, and not just president. I'm talking about, senators. We're talking about House members, members of Congress. We need to show Democrats and Republicans both alike that they, just because they're receiving large campaign contributions, doesn't give them a consistent right to be reelected. We have to make a point in this election that we need that third-party candidates, those who are not receiving corporate campaign contributions, need to be supported. We need to add new voices to the mix. We need to break up the two-party dichotomy, and we need to make it a real democracy again. And the way to do that, I'm telling you right now, is don't vote for those people who have received large amounts of campaign contributions, because what you're voting for is not that person. You're voting for an image of that person. You're voting for a carefully constructed facade of, or for those people who are not educated enough to understand the word facade, you're I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound like an elitist dick, but these things are pretty obvious. They should be. They're probably pretty obvious to most of you. Don't vote for a puppet. Don't vote for a guy who says all the right things and does the complete opposite, or does things that weren't part of his campaign promises. We need integrity. And from Republicans and Democrats, we are not getting integrity. So that's my plea to you, the American voter. Please vote for third-party candidates. Get some new voices in the mix. Scare the establishment a little bit. It's time to scare them. Let them know we're not just going to sit around and choose our presidential candidates the way we choose our deodorant, or the way we choose our electric shavers, or our our cars, and our anything you see advertised on television. It's all advertising, and we have to say, look, we have to say no to the propaganda. We have to say it's time for something new, really new hope and change. Actual hope and change. And when we say about change, we're talking about something other than Democrats and Republicans. And I think most people, whether you're conservative or liberal, should be able to agree with that, and should make an effort to scare the powers that be in the 2012 election at all levels. In the Congress, in the Senate, which is part of the Congress, obviously. So in Congress and in the presidential election. Vote for your third-party candidates.